Consider this a wake-up call. If you're like millions of other Americans, you're probably losing out on hours of sleep, and COVID-induced stress is only making matters worse. Here's Susan Spencer.
So, welcome to the climbing closet below the stairs where I record the podcast.
California podcaster Drew Ackerman has lost a lot of sleep, worrying about losing a lot of sleep.
How long have you struggled with insomnia?
My troubles with sleep and insomnia started when I was in 5th and 6th grade, and I would spend all night worrying, what's wrong with me that I can't fall asleep? Why can't I just turn my brain off and fall asleep? And
It's a question that years later he still can't answer.
the night goes on and on and on and on. It drags, and then you're there alone with your thoughts.
So in 2013, Drew decided to share those thoughts and perhaps help fellow insomniacs with a podcast he calls Sleep With Me.
You up all night, tossing, turning, mind racing.
In dulcet tones, he tucks in the sleep-deprived, inching toward dreamland with long, rambling monologues.
So I said, wait a second, I have cold day-old oatmeal in my refrigerator in a bowl, and I have a waffle maker here.
Signifying nothing.
There was probably a salad bar, because, oh boy, 80s and 90s were like salad bars were the thing.
These are not stories in the sense that they have a beginning, a middle, and an end, right?
There's stories that have a middle, beginning, and an end, but the middle part is so tangential that most listeners never get to the end.
But with a whopping 3 million downloads a month, Sleep With Me is a sleeper hit. No surprise to Professor Sharon Bowman, Chair of Counseling Psychology at Ball State University in Muncie, Indiana.
What is your definition of insomnia?
Being unable to either go to sleep easily or to remain asleep for a significant period of time. So how much sleep did you all get?
Professor Bowman advises clients and students on their sleep.
Someone told me yesterday she went to bed at 11, she fell asleep at 5 a.m.
Ouch.
Yes, exactly.
And the pandemic has only made things worse. 1 in 3 American adults says it's affected sleep quality.
I think this is being referred to as coronasomnia.
Yes. I think there are so many stressors and worries right now, it is much harder for people to do the sleep hygiene they need to do.
Sleep hygiene is just a fancy way of saying keep a bedtime routine and stay away from electronics at night. If only Professor Bowman herself could follow that advice.
I will fall asleep reading or watching television probably around 9:30, 10 o'clock. I'll wake up around 11:30. It's that move from chair to bed that becomes difficult. Once I get up and go to bed, I'm wide awake again.
Which may be why she's known for sending emails at 3 a.m.
The fact that you, as a psychologist and as somebody who counsels other people about insomnia, that you have these habits may speak to how intractable this is.
I think it does. I completely agree with you.
We live in a society that makes money by keeping people awake.
Our 24-hour culture is keeping us up, says UCLA professor Jennifer Martin, a spokesperson for the American Academy of Sleep Medicine.
There's a reason why streaming video doesn't just shut off at the end of the episode. It just goes on to the next one, right? You know, some streaming video executives have famously said that they're in competition with sleep.
Yeah, and they're winning.
Also competing with sleep, a warped work ethic.
Thomas Edison said sleep is a criminal waste of time. I think that this has almost become a badge of honor.
And then there's this weekend's pesky spring ritual of pushing the clock ahead.
Daylight saving should be a thing of the past. When we changed the time in the spring and people lose an hour of sleep, there are more car accidents after that.
What is the impact of cumulatively just not sleeping enough?
We see chronic sleep deprivation linked to things like cardiovascular disease, cancer, obesity, a whole host of health disparities that sort of fall along the same lines that we're seeing for sleep disparities.
It's even worse for African Americans, says Fordham University psychology professor Tiffany Yip, who studies racial sleep discrepancies.
Quite consistently, Black Americans are sleeping less than any other racial ethnic group.
How big are these disparities?
We found an hour difference, so Black Americans were sleeping an hour less than Asian, Latinx, Indigenous, and white individuals.
That's an entire night's sleep lost every week. Professor Yip puts some of the blame on the stress of racism.
How does discrimination play into insomnia?
So discrimination is a form of stress, and we know that stress sort of starts psychophysiological processes in the body. It could mean things like tossing and turning when you're trying to fall asleep, playing an event over and over in your head. So it's just another example of where we're seeing communities of color dealing with more challenges.
One challenge for all of us is knowing when to see a therapist.
If it goes on for longer than 3 months, that's a pretty good indication that you should reach out for some professional help.
In the meantime, well, there's always Drew's podcast.
Well, how do you react when people say, Drew, I listened to this and, well, it was really, really boring?
I love the word boring. That's like the best word to describe what I'm trying to achieve.
Well, you've succeeded beyond your wildest dreams.
You have taken my natural skill at being dull and being too interested in details and kind of weaponized it in a positive way.
Truly, something to sleep on.
If I can help that one person fall asleep and their day is better tomorrow, I mean, it doesn't get better than that for me.
Lovetree. No, I never heard that before. They don't have any odes for this tree, but it's a tree near you and me. Let's start walking here. We're walking down this street of mine, and it's important.